May 27th. Nice to meet you here. Grab a coffee and let's get smarter together. The German existentialist philosopher Karl Jasper became fascinated by the fact that figures like Pythagoras, the Buddha, and Confucius were all contemporaries. In fact, in China, India, and the Mediterranean, philosophers developed simultaneously at that time all the major positions on the nature of cosmos, mind, action, and the ends of human existence that have remained the stuff of philosophical debate ever since. The same goes for all of today's major world religion. Oh, and coins. But this is, while connected, another story. What I want to focus on today is one development that resulted from this period, the radical simplification of human motivation. It was a major element of any of the philosophical schools that were mainstreamed by ruling uber-explorers in any of these regions, as different as these schools might have been otherwise. In a society which is naturally tilted toward exploring, with a focus on the exploitation of existing knowledge being the exemption, motives are as manifold as the overlapping selves that have joined in the fun. More importantly, perhaps, everyone assumes everyone else's motives to be diverse. No one would assume that the most selfish motive, self-interest, is the one nor the prevailing one. And that was the situation how we went into the Axial age, as Jasper called the time period between 800 BC and 200 BC. We left the Axial age with what I would call a big lie having taken root. The idea that people, in every aspect of their existence, don't care about anything but their own self-interest. The idea that people are, by nature, selfish. It was this idea that allowed human life to seem like it could be reduced to a matter of means to end calculation, and hence something that could be examined like everything else using numbers. Here's the problem with this idea. Selfishness requires steadiness, requires that the same entity that acts reaps the future gains. What's steady about a human? And I mean beyond the idea that has been planted into our minds that we are one. Something following necessarily out of a claim that every human always only has a single motivation, because we all know fairly well that the moment there are 3 or 2 or 3 of us, there are at least 4 or 5 opinions and as many motives. Ourselves? Biology commits to real-time sense-making. If we stayed the same, we'd not be able to react to the ever-changing environment and perish. So we transform and thus erase our old selves and replace them with something different, something that fits the current moment better. The generation of our model of the world and self is therefore not a one-time event, but a continuous process. What makes our future self as much a stranger to our present self as any other human self. There's no steadiness, no steady self that will enjoy the payoff in the future from acts in the past. So what about something even more fundamental with a long-term potential? Our DNA. If a DNA were a read-only memory, there would be steadiness. But again, biology commits to real-time sense-making. Must do so as one pattern of patterns with limited insight into a complex system in which everything is a variable. And there's ample evidence that the DNA is a read-write memory, that, like the self, is a continuous process, a moving target. There's no steadiness here, either no steady individual DNA that will enjoy a payoff in the future from acts in the past. There's a certain degree of steadiness in the basics of the structure of a human architecture, but that's not individual, that's shared. Science tells us, therefore, that selfishness is the least likely motive for human action. Unless there's an instant gratification in the 80 to 300 millisecond range, every goal we pursue serves a stranger. A stranger we know as little as we still understand our past selves. A stranger who might not even regard the result of our investment as a gain. A stranger we don't know will still exist. So How safe is an investment in your and our future self? Safe enough to shortchange your present self for purely selfish goals? Or wouldn't it be more rational to diversify your motives, to include others, the collective landscape we are a part of, to support each other to set off the risk of exploration, to gain the highest possible payoff for all in the shape of insight into the physical universe that gives us more functionalities to achieve bigger, more complex goals? Explore, also known as think. Make a habit out of thinking. Let's turn thinking into a movement. Like, comment, share, and follow lest you miss a single opportunity to improve yourself and society. Once you do, we meet again at the coffee pot.